Wow. And now we're live. I can't believe I'm saying this because I had just been recording for like the length of an entire show. Just talking my heart out and but apparently I had pressed the take a picture button instead of record a video button. And so yeah, um but welcome in. Glad everybody can make it. This is 17 and some change. I am Ecudez 17. Happy Wednesday, happy hump day. I come to bring you my 2 cents. Um, I'll basically just kind of recap where I was. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of that content in regards to the God debate that I was having with somebody earlier today, the religious debate. Um, but let me just kind of um, cut through to kind of recap and get us back to where I was. Um, I'm gonna try to touch on these few things. Like I said, the God part really kind of I really kind of got into what do you call it, like a wormhole there, rabbit hole there. Um, so that's it is what it is. We'll just like I said, I'll just kind of recap. I had mentioned how when you follow um, multiple avenues, um, because everything has a philosophy of and and in the day of information overload and stuff like that, only major things kind of stick out. It's kind of tough to follow the intricacies of any one topic because there's so much stuff going on. Everything's screaming for your attention. Um, so I feel like sometimes a week, I don't know how these people do these podcasts where they go like every single day. You know what I mean? I feel like sometimes like even a week isn't enough time to let the news cycle breathe and stuff like that. But with that being said, the other side of that coin is that there is always something to talk about. You know what I mean? So whether it's breaking news or it's something that you have to like search and dig up and look into to talk about, both those things exist, and so that's just me saying that I am going to continue to run these podcasts on a weekly basis. I had lost a handful of, I had gained, I thought I had gained like at least like a few people that were watching on a consistent basis, and I took like a month off for dumb, like not dumb reasons, not dumb at the time or whatever, but and so um yeah, there's no reason I shouldn't be able to do these on a weekly basis. um you can always find uh something to either comment on or dive into. um you know um I had briefly mentioned taxes, and it's tax season. I think the deadline is coming up soon. I think it's the 15th of next month. It's the 25th of this month right now. So You guys should get your taxes done if you haven't gotten your taxes done. This jersey is a Michael Jordan on the Wizards jersey. I think his time on the Wizards was like really cool, really underrated, um, uh, and stuff like that. Um, so we in my last generalizing, yeah, I mean, in my last take, I was talking about a debate that I had uh, about religion, and it stemmed from, it was with an atheist, and it stemmed from the idea of faith healers, and we touched on. It's like you don't believe in faith healers. He was mocking faith healers, not in a bad, not in a, but he was questioning them. He was questioning them, and well, do you believe in like miracles of science, like medical miracles that are unexplainable, and people weren't given a chance to live, and they like miraculously recovered, and no, to him, like nothing, everything has an explanation um behind it, and it's all about the god of the gaps, and you know you I like to say you can equate personalities, and emotions to spirits, and if that was you know eh, if that was the case, then brain scans couldn't predict like what area of personality or function would be impacted by brain damage according to their side. Um, and we spoke on objective morality and subjective morality, of course. When I had them kind of, when the claim came up that you don't need a god, you don't need a religion, you don't need a mythology or anything of that nature or anything like that of those sorts to have good morality. I'm like, how do you classify your morality as good if good doesn't exist under the idea of atheism is synonymous with subjectivism as far as moral code, as far as a universal implicit morality. Um, good. versus bad doesn't register the same way as it does for a believer in spirit. If you don't believe in spirit, then it's a lot easier to fall into the subjective morality trap. And I, formed and gave him the benefit of the doubt on his argument in return, um, which is basically an appeal to evolution, saying that morality stems from empathy, which is adjusted evolutionarily based on societal norms and culture. Um, so that's where human morality comes from and stuff like that. Um, that was that was kind of the quick of it. You know what I mean? It was a little back and forth and stuff like that. And then I kind of talked about how, like, even as a former atheist, the glasses that I need to put on, like, I don't disrespect the intellectual stance of atheism, but the frames, the glasses that I need to put on to see all the world that I currently see as a spiritual blend of coincidences and beauty and duality and ugly. Um, in order to put on a pair of glasses that says that tells me everything I'm viewing is probability and meat sacks. It just that frame or that those glasses don't it just doesn't work. It doesn't work emotionally, it doesn't work conceptually, right? um and that's why, to me, belief, it comes down to a choice. And in certain worldviews just don't add up the same way in our being. You know what I mean? And there's so many directions that we could go with that. There's so many branches, like why, and we could go down the why, but I think that was a relatively halfway decent recap um of the debate, the little discussion I had, and the subsequent uh rundown that I had given here and stuff like that. Um, one thing I wanted to one thing I wanted to touch on was, and I don't know if this is too deep of a topic um than I have energy for at the moment, but oh, somebody hit my motorcycle the other day, by the way. That was pretty unfortunate. Like, they made the mirror fall off and stuff like that. That was pretty bad. So that's something that I mean, it could be worse. It's just a mirror is not too hard to, they don't cost too much and stuff like that, but Um, One of the things that came up in a different conversation the other day was, and it comes up, I think this is a problem in the pickup community as well. um the idea came up. There was a female that I'm familiar with. There was a female that I know, and she had gone to her coworker's house to her male coworker's house. She was seeing some guy. She was seeing some guy, and there was a huge storm. So she went to her coworker's house to like be good or whatever. Um, and and then she has a date with her mans, and they're gonna go do an activity together. So she goes back to this coworker's house and gets picked up by the mans at this coworker's house, and he recognizes, he's like, yo, I pick you up, and he comes out with her too. He's like, yo, didn't I pick you up from here before and stuff like that? And homeboy's like walking you out and stuff like that. And so he gets upset. He doesn't like it, and you know, when I was asked about it, I think he went a little too far, and kind of he kept bringing it up the whole day, uh, and making accusations and stuff like that. Like, oh, why don't you ask him? You were fucking him, blah blah blah, and like that's excessive. Um, but one of her girlfriends was like, oh yeah. And she was just being supportive. Like she didn't put much thought in it at all. But she's like, oh yeah, that person's just like that guy's just showing insecurity. You know what I mean? And you know, a lot of women like to fall back on this, and and a lot of uh gurus in the pickup industry throw this idea around haphazardly as well. Like, if you're showing any type of possessiveness, if you're showing any type of jealousy, it equivalates, it's the equivalency of a man being insecure. And I'm just here to kind of push back on that idea a little bit. In two ways, you know. On one side of it is I don't want, and this is the case for a lot of men and women, and you know, I write about it in my book, um, Mental Health and Secular Dating. I don't want people to just mass generalize um, what could be valid uh, 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 abandonment traumas and attachment disorders to insecurity. A lot of and I believe that a lot of the jealousy and possessiveness and the intensity behind that stems from attachment, you know, issues and abandonment trauma. And but you can't have it both ways. You can't ask for the intensity and but not want the possessiveness, or the jealousy. Like you can't ask for like the intensity of the love, um, and not expect the intensity of um, the other end of the spectrum. Um, but so hold on. So a lot of times, um, and so this isn't insecurity, right? So this these abandonment traumas and attachment issues, and extreme intensity. This isn't extreme intensity around abandonment and jealousy and stuff like that. This isn't something that can be chalked up to or generalized as insecurity. Um, insecurity, an individual. It's too broad of a stroke. An individual can be. Let's count the ways, right? They can be secure in their physicality, the way that they are able to uh, move their body, get things done with their body, protect their body, the way that their body looks, the way that they look. They could be secure in their appearance, um, and their physicality. They could be secure in their intellect. They can be secure in their finances and their financial literacy, right? They could be secure in their um, moral positions and behavioral patterns. They can love themselves. They can uh, be secure around women. They can be secure in every way, shape, or form you would want a man to be secure. But now, when they get triggered by the abandonment trauma, this trigger will never fully disappear, right? If it exists, like if somebody gets abandoned at a very young age, right? Then that trauma will never fully disappear. The trigger will never fully disappear, and even if it does, like, that's not the point. The only point is, like, don't confuse that with an insecure man. You know what I mean? Like, anybody can be put in a position that they feel insecure, which brings me to the second side of the coin, which is like anybody can get cheated on, male or female. But we'll stick to men. Like, if you know somebody like, I won't mention any names, but there are plenty of like famous basketball players that get cheated on. Like, there are everybody. Like, there's famous everything. There are uber successful people, men in every aspect of life, who get cheated on. Like, you can't say it's because sometimes it's common sense. Like, it's a possibility that exists. So that's not being insecure in oneself. That's maybe being insecure in a relationship. Um, and just because everybody can get cheated on doesn't mean everybody will get cheated on. But you look at a situation like that um, that female that I was telling you about going to homeboy's house, and oh, but I had been there before, and this guy has a fiance, and I was just going there to practice what I was gonna do on the date, and it's all plausible deniability. And like, of course, a man's gonna be like, yeah, like, the fuck? Like, what? What are you talking about, bro? Like, why are you at a dude's house? Like, you know what I'm saying? And so that's just my point. Don't write off and this is not just with like women and stuff, like with yourselves, like within the pickup community. Like, the pickup community's whack because they take like mentally ill men and like shame them for being mentally ill and push them into psychopathic narcissism as a solution. And but they don't understand that, like, no, like, if you're heartbroken because your female won't ghosts you, or won't answer your text, it's not a failing on your part. It's a reaction that exists, um indifferent of whether or not you're a loser. You know what I mean? Like, you can still feel that guttural loss and that existential dread from being ghosted, uh, even if you're a fucking winner. You don't have to be a loser to to feel that existential dread. You know, or an insecure person or whatever it is, and that's not good. You know, um, but um, we're closing in on half an hour. Sometimes, I'm gonna let me run through a few of these questions really quick. I'm gonna close out. My last few episodes, they've been around 30 minutes, so we'll make this one around 30-ish, whatever happens. But I think some of them, it's not gonna be a permanent thing. I think, they should start they some of them should start trending upward again towards like an hour and stuff like that. This one, honestly, what time is it? It's 5:54. I think I sat down here at like 4:45 or something like that. So this one would have went over an hour for sure. Um, but I am an hour behind now. I gotta get ready and go back to work tomorrow in the morning and stuff like that. Um, Not your concern, not your issue. Um, Question number one comes from Jordan, 27 years old, from Chicago. Um, Jordan says, and this isn't the real Jordan, just because I cannot tell a lie. This is uh, Grok Jordan. But y'all feel free. Like I said, you can send me your questions. Um, you could go ecudes17 at yahoo.com. That's the number 17. Um, or you could just, shoot some questions in the comment sections. Like, I'd love to answer your questions. In the meantime, until, I have a real question box to answer from, um, we're going to go with something a little simulated. Um, and like maybe I'll do two or three. Yeah, let me just do the first three and just see like off the top of my head like how you know how well I could do this. I think these are all dating questions, which I'm okay with. Um, this one is from, yeah, like I said, this is Grok Jordan, 27, Chicago. It says, I've been trying to be more intentional with dating, but I always end up rushing things physically because I'm scared the other person will lose interest. How do you actually slow down and build real connection without killing the vibe or seeming like you're not interested? Um, well, I mean, in real life, I'd say good question. Thank you for the question, Jordan. This is a really good uh a problem that a lot of men run into when you're dating. But no, let me think on it real quick. Um, how do you actually slow down and build real connection without killing the vibe or seeming like you're not interesting? I don't know how building real connection would ever kill uh, he's talking about the sexual vibe. You know, you're afraid the other person will lose sexual interest by you building a real connection and not um, sacking the quarterback, so to speak. Um, I, I mean, see how that question is layered in red pill ideology. Like, no, that's the way it should work, right? Like, that's in the perfect world. um you're assuming you're thinking about the friend zone. You're thinking about like, oh, if I don't escalate fast enough, then I'm just gonna be put in the friend zone. But we're talking about building a real connection. I don't think building a real connection kills the vibe. You know what I mean? And how do you uh, seem like you're not interested? Like, you show interest where it exists and when it exists. You know what I mean? You don't if it's her body that's catching your eye at the moment, then allow that to happen. Then you know what I mean? Then allow your eyes to wander and on her body and she'll pick up on that. But if it's you know the the conversation or the person that is capturing your attention and your energy and your vibe, then go in that direction, right? And that's the that's the best order. That's the best order. That's the order that everybody has forgotten about since the pickup world came to be. Because everybody's afraid of getting friend zoned. It's like, what you wanna you what you, that question makes it sound like the goal is sex. Like, that's the goal. Like, okay, I mean, um, then what? More sex. Like, yeah, I mean, I guess that's where you got to start. Like, what is your goal, anyways? But I don't think creating a general connection with somebody and showing interest in their being in their person is the antithesis to having or showing sexual interest, right? Um, you should be able to do both. You know what I mean? And like I said, if your goal is like a healthy ish, longer ish term relationship, like you want to know the person first. You want to get to know the person first. Aisha, 31 from Atlanta, um, says my anxiety makes dating feel impossible lately. Every text or date turns into overthinking, and I end up sabotaging things before they even start. Is there a way to date while still dealing with mental health stuff, or should I really pause until I feel more stable? I don't think there's like like a umbrella answer for that. I think you're if you're overthinking every text that you're going to send, I don't think that is going to be very conducive to, success in relationships and dating, and I'm sure, you seem to know that as well. Um, but I can't tell you to stop trying and to try to fix yourself first. Like, you should always be working on yourself. You should always be working towards something. But a lot of times when we say we're gonna get our ducks in order before we do this, that, and the other thing, a lot of times, like, we don't know when our ducks are actually in order. So we just keep arranging them. Like, you're never gonna, I don't know if you're ever gonna wake up at, at, and say, like, wow, all right, I am healed. I am ready. Optimally, you want to have a partner who is, aware of these mental health things, and that can work uh, through it with you, and just don't be too hard on yourself. Um, try it. Try taking breaks. You know, um, be open, be honest, and don't lose hope. Marcus, 36 from Houston, says I'm a single dad and the last few years have been chaotic. I don't want perfect anymore, just someone who can handle real life. But I have no idea how to bring that up on a first date without sounding too heavy or scaring people off. Um yeah, again, I don't Marcus, I don't think not wanting perfection. Well, first of all, I wouldn't phrase it that way. I wouldn't say, "Hey, I'm not looking for a perfect woman anymore. I will settle with you." I wouldn't necessarily frame it like that, but like, um, honest, the truth will set you free. And if your situation is a little chaotic and you're so therefore you're looking for somebody that's not so chaotic, then that's a perfectly reasonable request. You're not asking for anything like out of the norm or anything like that. You know what I mean? I think you should, you know, on a date, like, if you guys are talking about living situations, you're talking about like living arrangements and stuff like that. If it comes up, you know what I mean? Which most of the time those types of things do come up. Just be organic with the conversation. Not, just don't treat it as like a therapy session. Like there is a line you have to walk on that first date between like finding out if the person is still going to be compatible with some of your, gray areas, versus treating it as a therapy session and being like, I have borderline, I have bipolar, and my mom used to beat me up, and none of my girlfriends like me, and my friends used to poop on my head. You know what I mean? Like, you don't have to like do all that on the first date or anything like that. But you do want to find out, like, yeah, you do want to find out, like, if somebody's not for dating somebody that has a kid, for example. You know what I mean? So you don't have to go into like all the details. Like, yeah, my kid was born in 1997, and he fucking like cereal, and every day my house has freaking cereal all over the walls, and he breaks all the toys, and I don't know how to go to work anymore, and I don't know how to wake up, and everything's crazy, like, you know but you should find out if you're talking to somebody that is anti children and anti chaos. You know what I mean? For the sake of your own damn time too. Like, man, like, you're not going on a date like just trying to like be liked. Like, you gotta screen these people too to see if there's like compatibility, and to see if you guys would like fit into each other's lives and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Um, so we're gonna finish up with the this day in history thing. I got 5 things that happened on this day of history. I'll go down the list. I'll read a little tiny description. If I have anything to add, I will add it. The first thing, so it's March 25th, for the record. The first thing is 1306. Robert the Bruce is crowned King of Scots. Um, this is after he killed his rival John Comyn. This marked a pivotal moment in the Scottish War of Independence, um, leading to his eventual victory at Bannockburn and Scotland's de facto independence. Wow, that's a very long time ago. 1306. He killed his rival, huh? All right, maybe that's why his picture has him with a freaking weapon, axe thing, axe spear thing. Number two, in 1807. Oh, is this even? No, that's closer. So this is going in chronological order. That's good. So in 1807, maybe closer to like a day that we remember. History is nuts. There's so much of it. Like there's so much history. Like what? But it's cool, but it's nuts. Like I don't know. Like to me, you got frame history right. Like I've seen people that can't stand history, and it's like because they think it's just like learning like facts, but it's like no, it's a story. Like, do you like stories? Like, and whose story is it? It's our story. It's his story, and who is he? It's he is you. You know, he is your ancestor, so his stories is your ancestor's story. It's like our story. History is our story. Like that's really cool, you know. Number two, it says in 1807, Britain abolishes the slave trade. Oh, that's good. The British Parliament passed the Abolition of the Slave Trade Act, making it illegal to trade enslaved people throughout the British Empire, with penalties for violations. This was a landmark victory for abolitionists like William Wilberforce and set the stage for broader emancipation efforts. All right, and then number three is 1911 Triangle Shirtwaist Factory Fire. This was in New York. It killed 146 workers who were mostly young immigrant women. The tragedy highlighted horrific working conditions and locked exits, spurred major reforms, fire safety laws, and strengthening the U.S. labor movement. It's wild how a lot of times it's like really big bad things that happen that add to the bureaucracy of the world that we live in. Like we live in a day and age where like everything is red taped, but if you look back, it's because like so many bad things, like all the like so many bad things have happened, not all the potential bad things, but like um number 4 in 1957 founding of the European Economic Community. Six countries: West Germany, France, Italy, Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg signed the Treaties of Rome, establishing the European Economic Community, EEC, or Common Market. This was a foundational step towards European integration and the modern European Union. Number 5, 1965, completion of the Selma to Montgomery marches. Okay, wow. Um, led by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and other civil rights activists, thousands of marchers arrived at the Alabama state capitol in Montgomery after a 50-mile, 4-day trek from Selma. The successful march, following the violent Bloody Sunday attempt, helped galvanize support for the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These events span centuries and touch on themes of independence, human rights, labor reform, and international cooperation. March 25th is also observed as Greek Independence Day and the Feast of Annunciation in many Christian traditions. So that's nice. That's really cool. So clearly a lot of things happened. I like it was wild. Like a lot of them kind of a lot of them were kind of around like slavery and racial justice and well two of them. Okay. All right, y'all. It's been real. I'm glad I was able to salvage this episode after losing some of the other ones, but I'm glad everything happened and everything worked out, I should say, and I'm glad you exist. And tune back in. Tune back in. I'll be back at it next week. Um, shoot for Thursday. Shoot for Wednesday, hump day. I know last week I filmed on Wednesday and it didn't upload until Friday, which was frustrating or whatever to me, even though um, it has not gotten any traction yet. But that's fine. Um, if you're watching this one, yeah, we will be back next week, God willing. Um, so stay tuned and be safe and don't do anything I want to do. And goodbye.